Hello and welcome to Porsche Cup C6 Bank MasterCard. We are at the Ayrton Senna International Circuit located in Goiânia, a city just about 200 kilometers from Brasilia, Brazil's capital. We are about to start qualifying for the third round of the 2023 Sprint Championship. During free practice on Friday, Marcel Miller got the fastest time in Carrera Cup with 1:23.490, less than 1/10 of a second ahead of Nicolas Costa with Werner Neugebauer in third. In Sprint Challenge, Sadak Leite got the best time with Miguel Mariotti and Eduardo Taurissano right behind him. Well, you are going to watch this qualifying session with me, Sergio Lago, and with Carlos Costa. Hello, Carlos. Beautiful day in Goiânia.
Hello, Sergio. Very big pleasure to be here with you to broadcast one more round of the Brazilian Porsche Cup Championship, the Sprint Championship round of Goiânia. As you said, one of the most traditional circuits in Brazil. A good expectation for the round, given that the situation in terms of championship standings is quite interesting so far. Third round of the Sprint Championship. We had previously the Interlagos round, the season opener at São Paulo, then Velocitar round in the inner part of the São Paulo state, quite far from Goiânia, and now, as you said, we arrive at Goiânia, quite close to the Brazil's capital, Brasilia, and the cars hit the track already. Throughout the broadcast, we can talk about the championship standings. As you said, Marcel Miller has been the fastest so far in the Carrera Cup championship, considering the free practice sessions that we had yesterday, and also Sadak Leite in the Sprint Challenge Championship. So a lot of guys to mention, and we'll talk about all of that throughout the broadcast, Sergio.
Exactly, Carlos. As we always have during the sprint qualifying, first we have the rookie class drivers. They are on the track now. Then we have the sport class drivers, and then the main Carrera Cup drivers, they will be on the track. Then we'll repeat the same thing with the Sprint Challenge Championship, with the Sprint Challenge. And at the end, after these three first qualifying sessions, the top 10 times, or the top 10 drivers in time, will go to a final round to find out who is going to be the pole position. We will have two races this weekend for each Carrera Cup and Sprint Challenge. First race will be this Saturday, starting at 1 p.m. Brazilian time, 12 noon, U.S. Eastern time, or 4 p.m., 5 p.m. European Standard Time, and then Renata.
Vocês estavam falando da temperatura, eu vou falar que tá um ventinho gelado por aqui, né? O sol vai estralar, que a gente já sabe, mas até fui pegar minha blusa porque tava batendo um ventinho gelado. Agora é o seguinte, eu tava reparando aqui, quem tá muito concentrado e prestando atenção no quali que já começou, é o Marcel Miller, que fez o melhor tempo ontem no treino livre. Marcel, ainda tem coisa a ajustar? Como é que você encara essa mudança de temperatura agora?
Com certeza, os tempos vão baixar de ontem, então tem muitos ajustes aí que a gente não andou ainda numa temperatura que nem hoje. Então agora é tentar encaixar os setores aí e ver se dá para brigar por mais uma pole.
Beleza, obrigada. Luke, com vocês aí.
Yeah, we heard there from Renata Diniz, our pit reporter. She was talking about the fact that we have a cold wind at Goiânia, and she talked to Marcel Miller, as we said, so far the pace setter of the weekend in the Carrera Cup Championship. He has clocked 1 minute, 23 seconds, 4:90 in yesterday's free practice, and he was talking about the fact that we can expect colder temperatures today, so that might have an impact in terms of lap times and so on, Sergio.
Yes, this each qualifying session will be 10 minutes. So far, we have Gustavo Farah ahead of the pack. Then Piero Cifali is in second, 2 seconds behind Gustavo Farah. But of course, Carlos, we're expecting these times to improve as the time passes by. Usually the drivers wait for the final 3-4 minutes to get their best time. As we see hitting the track, number 25, Paulo Souza. Paulo Souza, who's currently is at third with his Porsche 992 there, Carlos. And Bruno Campos now just set up the best time. He's ahead of Gustavo Farah, and Edu Guedes is in third with Porsche number 9, Carlos.
Yeah, and it's interesting to talk about the championship situation in the rookie class of the Carrera Cup Championship. We have Edu Guedes leading so far, 58 points for the driver. Then he's followed by Gustavo Farah, 2 points adrift. João Barbosa with 50 points. This is the third in the championship standings, and then we have the rest of the pack a little bit behind. So these three guys have a very interesting situation in terms of championship standings, and we can expect them to fight for good positions in this qualifying session. You talked about how the qualifying session works in Porsche Brazil, so we tend to actually not have the cars from the rookie class in the final stages of the qualifying session of the Carrera Cup Championship. But anyway, some of these drivers, they are already very competitive, especially the top three of the championship standings, Edu Guedes, Gustavo Farah, and João Barbosa, as I said. But so far so good for Bruno Campos Garfinkel, car number 33 leading the pack, but we can expect the times to drop a little bit as we see Paulo Souza in this yellow and green livery, and now another car in the screen is actually Edu Guedes' car, the leader in the class so far.
Yes, Carlos, the Ayrton Senna International Circuit, or Goiânia International Circuit, as we might call it as well, it has 3,835 meters. It's 13 turns, and Marcel Miller is the current record holder with 123.930. I think you said that. He got this in the sprint race in 2022. But currently, among the drivers that will be on the field, the one who has most victories, Carlos, is Miguel Paludo. Miguel Paludo has 3 victories there in Goiânia, and he's looking forward to become the the driver with most wins overall in Porsche Cup if he's able to win one of the 2 races this weekend. So it's a driver that we always pay attention, but of course thinking about Marcel Miller, who's been very strong this championship, as well as Nicolas Costa. This talking about the main category, of course. And Carlos, another thing I wanted to call the attention is that how strong this field is, with 26 cars overall, 6 in the main Carrera Cup, 13 in the sport class, and 7 in the rookie class. So there is a very nice dispute there in the rookie class, as you've said.
Yeah, definitely. An interesting grid, a lot of cars, as you said, especially in the intermediate class, if we can say so. You talked about Miguel Paludo. He's so far tied with Constantino Jr. in terms of race wins in Porsche Cup Brazil. So we can assume that it is a tense weekend for Miguel Paludo, even though he's a very experienced driver with NASCAR experience as well. So an international driver has racing in Xfinity races this year, if I'm not wrong. 7-time champion of Porsche Brazil, so he is definitely one guy that can deal with pressure, as we see one car spinning there.
Yes, exactly. We are close to the end of the qualifying session. It's car number 99 of Nasser Abutaif. No, it was actually Eduardo Menossi. Eduardo Menossi, number 85. There you see the... No, it's 99, right? It's 99. They put Eduardo Menossi there. Oh, that's Eduardo Menossi there. We had both cars. Anyway, Carlos, talking about Miguel Paludo, he's going to be racing next week not in the Le Mans 24 hours, but in the Porsche Cup race that will be before, as a preliminary for the Le Mans 24 hours. So it will be a very nice challenge for him, and it will be the second time he will be participating on this race.
Yeah, interesting. A race in the Porsche Carrera Cup France Championship. So in a way, it's a nice recognition of his driving skills as well, because he gets this opportunity to race in the preliminary round of the Le Mans 24 hours, as you said. And it will be nice to see how he fares there, because we are talking about a very, very important weekend in terms of motorsport overall this year. So nice to see, and maybe he can arrive there as the guy with most wins in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil Championship. So it will be interesting to see this weekend if he gets a race win or something like that. And as I was talking about, actually, he's definitely one guy that knows how to deal with pressure. But anyway, as you said, Sergio, the field is very, very competitive when we talk about the Carrera Cup Championship, the main class. Especially, we have a lot of fierce competitors, such as Alceu Feldman, that is currently second in the championship standings, right behind Miguel Paludo. Paludo has 91 points to his name, Alceu has 83, and Marcel Miller, who talked to Renata Diniz, our pit reporter, has 73 points, so a lot of competitiveness. And right behind Marçal, Nicolas Costa, a former endurance challenge driver in Porsche Brazil, now making his debut in the Sprint Championship, has 71 points. So a lot of cars that can give a headache there for Miguel Paludo this weekend.
Yeah, and with the exception of Nicolas Costa, that, as you mentioned, it's his first year in the Sprint Championship, all the others are veterans of the category, are very accomplished drivers with victories, titles, and everything. So it's a very strong field, which makes, for me, Carlos, this Porsche Cup Brazil very interesting category. It's a very interesting field of drivers. But even Nicolas Costa, who is starting, let's say, his career here at Porsche Cup Brazil in the Sprint Championship. He started very strong in the first race in Interlagos. Then he had some a little bit of an issues in the second race at Velocitar, but he's doing very well, and I would say he's also a challenger for the championship, as we are just about to finish the first half of the championship after we finish the races this weekend. As I mentioned before, one today, Saturday, and then the second race will be on Sunday for both Carrera Cup and Sprint Challenge.
Yeah, exactly. The third of 6 rounds this weekend at Goiânia. And talking about Nicolas Costa, I completely agree. And we have to consider also that even though he's new to this Sprint Championship of Porsche Brazil, he knows this car very well because he has raced in Endurance Challenge series of this very series. So he is already adapted to the car, even though we always have to consider that it is a very different kind of type actually of race, because you have to be fast straight away in the Sprint Championship and be very aggressive. In the endurance race, you have to be a little bit more intelligent in terms of balancing pace, knowing when to attack, as well. As we see the replay there. The car ahead is Paulo Souza's car, and then Piero Cifali right behind.
Yeah, Paulo Souza got the 5th best time, so it was not a good effort for him. Oh, look at that, how close it
Very
got. That
close.
was Gustavo Farah passing by João Barbosa, overtaking, not overtaking because it's not really an overtake. He just passed by João Barbosa. It was kind of a little bit of a scary moment. Gustavo Farah got the best time among the rookie class, with João Barbosa in second and Bruno Campos with Porsche number 33 in third. Of course, as you mentioned before, Carlos, now we'll have the sports class guys and then the main Carrera Cup. But that's a pole position for Gustavo Farah in the rookie class. So that's an accomplishment for him, and of course puts him ahead of the pack of the rookie drivers for the race this early afternoon in Goiânia.
Yeah, and very good result for Gustavo Farah. It's nice to see how he's developing himself as a driver. If I'm not wrong, he was celebrating there with his wife, Carol Aranha, if I'm not wrong, a former Porsche Cup Brazil driver as well. I remember when Gustavo Farah arrived in the series, and now we can see that he's a very good driver already. So that's one of the most interesting factors of Porsche Brazil, because you can see how the drivers evolve, and of course they learn the driving skills. We have a lot of driver coaches in this series, so it's a job that is very well done by the series organizers. We have to praise Denner Pires, CEO of Porsche Cup Brazil, for the whole organization of this series, as we hear now from Renata Diniz once more.
Para hoje, para a galera que está em casa assistindo entender. Você não tinha feito treino livre tão bom e hoje veio e cravou a pole. Então explica tecnicamente o que você fez no carro.
A gente simulou qualificação ontem no treino da manhã, que era um treino extra. No treino oficial a gente estava com o pneu usado e ficou experimentando o setup do carro. Eu acho que a principal diferença aqui de ontem para hoje é que a pista está muito mais fresca, está bem mais rápida, e a gente usou o período da tarde para acertar o carro com um pneu velho. Então a gente ficou com o carro muito bem acertado. A hora que colocou o pneu hoje, novo, o carro fez o trabalho dele sozinho, eu só estava ali de passageiro.
Ah, até parece, né? Feliz demais, parabéns, viu?
Obrigado, foi um pouco de sorte e um pouco de esforço. Obrigado.
É isso, e o final de semana tá só começando. Luque.
Yeah, we heard there from Gustavo Farah. He said that this pole lap was a little bit of luck and a little bit of effort, but anyway, he was talking about the track temperature as well. as did Marçal. He was talking about the fact that we have a colder weather today at Goiânia, Autódromo Internacional Ayrton Senna International Circuit. And he said that the track is a little bit faster today. And actually, he says he was, in a way, a passenger of the car, so the car got the pole position for him. Of course, he was joking a bit, but we have to praise his performance. A bit ahead of João Barbosa, a little bit more than 1/10 of gap between P1 and P2. But anyway, a very good performance from Gustavo Farah. And an important result for him as well. We talked about the championship situation in terms of the rookie class of the main Carrera Cup Championship. Gustavo Farah is second, currently just 2 points behind Edu Guedes. And we see that Guedes didn't have such a good qualifying session. P4 for him so far.
We now have the cars for the sports class. One thing, look, this is Miguel Paludo preparing himself to hit the track afterwards. But Carlos, one thing I like is just that 2 seconds separated first to seventh. So it shows how strong this field of the rookie drivers in the Carrera Cup, how strong it is in terms of competitiveness. You know, not, of course, they are slower than the other guys overall, but they are very competitive among themselves, which is good for the rookie championship. So that's a very nice thing. While we see again, we have 8 minutes still for the sports class qualifying.
And I completely agree, Sergio. It's nice to see how tight the pack is, even in the rookie class of the Carrera Cup Championship, because theoretically, these drivers, they are less skilled than the sport class drivers and the main Carrera class drivers. So if we see a 2/10 gap between the top drivers, it's a signal that indeed, as you said, the level of competitiveness is big. And it's nice to see because some of these drivers we know from a couple of years already, and we can see exactly how they have evolved, especially Gustavo Farah, that got pole position, but all of the back there, all of the drivers, and now we have a lot of cars on track because this sport class, it is a little bit crowded, I would say, Sergio.
Yeah, we have 13 drivers there, so it's the strongest field overall in the all weekend. I mean, among themselves, we have it's 13 in the Carrera Cup sports class. So it's a very, very strong field. This, while we see number 3, Franco Giafone, trying to get a good time. He's also a veteran of the category. So far, the best time has been of Gustavo Farah, but none of the sports class drivers did a good time yet. They're just warming up, going around, and then soon we will probably have some changes in the grid.
Yeah,
I will see again Miguel Paludo.
Yeah, and that's quite tight there. He's having a bit of an issue there with the wheel. No, that's just the regular preparation. But just talking about the Sport Class Championship, it's nice to see how Georgios Frangoulis is performing so far. A very consistent season for Frangoulis. He's leading the class with 57 points. Sergio 17 points ahead of Lucas Salles.
It's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And I was going to highlight that because Lucas Salles is a very competitive driver. He usually is able to fight ahead of his pack, so battling with the guys from the main Carrera Cup class, but he has had a little bit of misfortune so far in the season. So we see that the points gap between Frangoulis and Salles is quite big, but that just shows how Frangoulis is capitalizing on his opportunities and how consistent he has been, also intelligent in order to avoid crashes and so on. So 17 points between Frangoulis and Salles, and so far in the 3rd position, Raijan Mascarello with 32 points actually, just followed by Lineu Pires with 29, and then the rest of the pack. So interesting situation so far for Georgios Frangoulis. Let's see how he will perform in this qualifying session.
This is Francisco Horta. He is currently ahead of everybody. He just set up a time of 1:23.855. Gustavo Farah is still second, but Francisco Horta is the first driver of the sports class to really do his best time so far. Of course, we still have a little bit under 5 minutes to go, so it's more than enough time for the drivers to improve their performance on the track. Gustavo Farah is still second, João Barbosa, then Bruno Campos and Edu Guedes. So let's wait for the other sports class drivers to set up their best time, and then after that, we will have the main Carrera Cup drivers hitting the track, and afterwards, we will have the top 10 overall to find out who is going to be the pole position. This is number Roman Zinkevich, number 80. Also one of the drivers who has these very psychedelic liveries, Carlos. It's really, very interesting, let's say, paint scheme for Roman Zinkevich.
Yeah, I like the definition, Sergio. Indeed, it is a bit psychedelic there, a little bit similar to rock album covers from the 60s or beginning of the 70s. But interesting to mention also that Roman Zinkevich had a very action-packed race in the first round, the season opener of the Endurance Challenge series of Porsche Brasil. Alongside Nelson Piquet Jr., we had 300 kilometers of Interlagos some weeks ago, and Nelson had a very good performance, and Roman Zinkevich had an eventful race because he was always fighting for position in the middle of the pack, so it was a good practice for him as well. A very long race that we had in the José Carlos Pachi International Circuit at São Paulo, as we see Lineu Pires in the screen right now.
Yeah, Lucas Salles just set up the best time. There he is with Porsche number 70, talking about this first endurance race in 2023. Carlos, it was a very, very nice race, very interesting, very action-packed race, and I definitely recommend you who follow Porsche Cup in Brazil to go there on our YouTube channel and check what happened during this race. That was very, very interesting. It's there available for you to watch. Actually, all the races of Porsche Cup are available for you to watch again on our YouTube channel.
And there we see Lucas Salles. We talked about him already, and it's interesting to check the lap times because he has clocked so far 1:23.445. He's already faster than Marcel Miller yesterday, so a fastest lap time of the weekend so far, and that just shows that the track is faster, as Gustavo Farah pointed. So it will be interesting to see, especially the qualifying session of the main Carrera Cup class. But anyway, so far so good for Lucas Salles, and this is a very important qualifying session for him because of the championship situation, as we talked about, and good performance so far by Roman Zinkevich, just 1/10 of gap actually between himself and Lucas Salles.
Yeah, Lineu Pires runs currently in third, followed by Peter Ferter. Peter Ferter, who's done a nice race during the endurance race. It's a driver that we are seeing this year competing for the full championship. And now Franco Giaffoni gets ahead of them, gets the third best time. Franco Giaffoni getting ahead of Lineu Pires and Peter Ferter, but he was not able to get ahead of Roman Zinkevich. Roman Zinkevich, pardon me. Lucas Salles is still ahead of the pack. Less than 1 minute, Carlos. Let's see if anybody is able to get a better time than Lucas Salles, He's looking very strong so far.
Yeah, definitely. And let's see if Georgios Frangoulis will react so far. A difficult qualifying session for him, only 6th in the moment, so quite behind his title rival Lucas Salles. And one more position dropped by Frangoulis, because now Nelson Monteiro is 3rd, so Frangoulis is demoted to 7th, and that's it. We'll see the final situation in some seconds.
This is Lineu Pires. He's currently 5th. Best time. It's easy to spot him with this light green, very strong green. And it seems that Lucas Salles is going to get the pole position for the sport class. And you see, Carlos, how far is the first rookie class driver, Gustavo Farah, fell to 10th. So he was first among the sports class guy, the rookie class guys. Now he's 11th. Nelson Marcondes just got the 10th best time, and actually he was surpassed by Ricardo Fontanari. But Lucas Salles, there is Ricardo Fontanari with number 17, but Lucas Salles is still ahead of the pack with Roman Zinkevich and Nelson Monteiro in third, Franco Giaffoni in fourth, and Lineu Pires in fifth. Of course, this all should change after we have the main Carrera Cup drivers hitting the track. They will go to the track right after these drivers go back to the pits, and then we'll have Lucas Salles is already out of his car. We saw him there, Carlos.
Yeah, we didn't have checkered flag, but I don't believe anyone will snatch this pole position from Lucas Salles, as we now see the checkered flag being waved there. If I'm not wrong, we had Roman Zinkevich and another car passing the main straight. But anyway, as we see the confirmation of the lap times, Lucas Salles gets this pole position of the sport class. And it will be interesting to see the main Carrera Cup drivers, as you said, because Lucas' benchmark so far has been very good. As I said, faster than Marcel Miller's lap time in yesterday's free practice. So nice to see his performance. Interesting situation in terms of championship standings because Jorge Frangoulis qualifies only in the 7th spot off the grid. So far, of course, we have the cars from the main Carrera class. But anyway, even though it's a big difference between the sport class drivers and the rookie class drivers, half of a second is not that much. So we see that the drivers on the rookie class, they are evolving, as we have been highlighting throughout this broadcast, especially Gustavo Farah. Actually, Farah is ahead of one car, actually more than one, two cars of the sport class division. Rajan Mascarello only third, yeah, P13 for him, so right behind Gustavo Farah. And Ayman Darovic had a difficult qualifying session as well, P18 for the Egyptian driver.
Yeah, this year has not been that good for Ayman Darwish, Carlos. I've noticed he's a very aggressive driver. We've seen very nice races from him, but this year I don't think it's been his best. He still have to find his best game to compete in 2023.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree because Ayman Darovic, throughout the last couple of years or something like that, he has always been a contender in terms of fighting for race wins and even have a good championship situation, but now we see that he has only 19 points to his name, so quite far from the championship leaders in this moment. Frangoulis 57, so a lot of points between the leaders so far, and Darovic that is currently 8th in the championship standing. So far not that good for the Egyptian driver, as you said, a very aggressive one, but bad luck for him. I didn't hear what Renata said, but anyway, we'll have in some moments the cars from the main Carrera Cup class, Sergio.
Yes, Lucas Salles so is the fastest so far. Lucas Salles, Roman Zinkevich, Nelson Monteiro, Franco Giaffoni, Lineu Pires, and Peter Ferter are the top 6 there. And we are waiting for the Carrera Cup drivers to hit the track, Carlos. As you see, reminding that the race will be this afternoon. The first race of the weekend will be this afternoon, starting at 1 p.m. Brazilian time. It will be 5 p.m., right? European GMT, and then 12 p.m. US Eastern Standard Time. As now we're back to the images live. First driver there is Miguel Paludo. He will hit the track. After him will be Marcel Miller, who was the fastest yesterday. So these are two great drivers. They are battling for the championship. Actually, pretty much all of them are battling for the championship. And another thing, we talk about battles and everything, but one nice thing about Porsche Cup, and I believe this is overall in the world, Carlos, is that it's a very nice environment for all the drivers. Let's see Renato with Lucas Salles.
O equilíbrio que você teve no setor 1, 2 e 3. Não teve nenhum que foi o melhor, mas você manteve o equilíbrio. Isso é uma volta encaixada. O que você deve isso?
Vamos ter que tentar extrair mais aí nesse top 10 aí, mas o carro estava muito bom. Os treinos foram difíceis porque quando a gente pôs um pneuzinho melhor, ou dava uma bandeira vermelha, ou eu tive um problema no jogo de pneu ontem, então não deu para realmente testar o pneu zero. Agora foi a primeira vez, então, mas está tudo certo, vamos tentar aí dar o melhor aí no top 10.
Primeira vez deu bom, parabéns.
Obrigado.
Luque.
Yeah, we heard there from Lucas Salles, pole sitter in the sport class division of the Carrera Cup Championship. He was talking about how competitive the qualifying session has been. A lot of drivers in the same 10th, but anyway, he was able to get this first position of the grid in his class. Let's see his position among the overall drivers. But anyway, he was highlighting the fact that he was able to extract a good performance from the car after a difficult practice session yesterday when he got a good situation in the car in terms of setup. Actually, he highlighted his car, but anyway, in the practice session that we had yesterday, he had a little bit of bad luck because when he was fast, there was a red flag or an issue with the tires. So anyway, he was able to get this pole position, but he needs to extract more from the car in order to win the race, as he said. So happy, but
Encontrei o Lineu
already
Pires
focused
aqui,
on
e
the
aí
duty
eu
that
vi que
he
tava com a
has
cara de
this
bravo,
afternoon,
olhando ali a
Sergio.
telemetria. Acho que já tem
Now we
nome
see
essa cara de
Miguel
bravo, né?
Paludo
Chama
there. I
setor
think
2.
Renata
O
is
que vai fazer para
going.
ajustar
Let's
aqui
see,
que você
no.
sentiu ali do carro?
Não, se a gente conseguir pro top 10, a gente olhou
Yeah,
de volta,
Renata.
passei em 2 freadas e deu uma traseiradinha. É fácil de arrumar, a teórica já tava para segundo da Sport. Agora esse eu consigo entrar no top 10 para repetir a volta, o primeiro setor e o terceiro e melhorar o segundo.
É isso, analisando sempre dados. Valeu, Lineu. E a gente vai acompanhar daqui. Luque.
Yeah, we heard now from Lineu Pires. He actually reported that his car had a little bit of oversteer, so the back end of the car was a bit nervous, to say the least. But he also mentioned the fact that the sectors were very tight as well. Actually, it's interesting to mention that Lucas Salles, the pole sitter of the class, didn't have a purple sector in any of the sectors, so his job was well done in order to have a very balanced lap, even though he wasn't fastest in any of the sectors. So it's a very tight battle, as both Pires and Salles pointed, Sergio.
Exactly. Let's see here, 7 minutes and 20 seconds, a little bit less to end this qualifying. We see Werner Neugebauer with a Porsche number 8. It's another veteran, Werner Neugebauer, who is capable of very, very fast laps. He has many pole positions in his career. And behind him, we have Nicolas Costa. Nicolas Costa, who started very strong this year in the championship. And look how beautiful this image is from Goiânia. Remember, Goiânia.
Roman Dmikevich, eu vim aqui falar com ele, ele tava de capacete, nem ia tirar o capacete,
very
entendeu?
nice
Porque o top 10 tá logo
if you
aí,
ever come
garantiu um
to visit
P2
Brazil.
aí logo no começo desse sabadão. O carro tava ajustado, conta pra gente.
Cara, o carro tava fenomenal. Pra falar a verdade, o carro já vem fenomenal o final de semana inteiro. Eu que ontem dei uma escorregada no treino livre, acabei não fazendo treino livre. Vim com uma super ansiedade para hoje, mas tá aí. Foi uma excelente volta, minha volta mais rápida da minha história aqui em Goiânia. Tô muito feliz.
É isso, só começou, hein, Roman?
Só começou, bola pro Q3 agora.
É isso. Valeu, obrigada. Luque.
Yeah, we heard there from a very joyful Roman Djinkiewicz. He actually said that this lap time that puts him actually second in the sport class division of the Carrera Cup Championship was his fastest lap time in his history in this track. So Djinkiewicz is very happy indeed. A good expectation for the race, and actually he was celebrating the fact that he was able to get a good lap time because in yesterday's free practice session he struggled a bit, was sliding a bit with the car, but now he was able to get a good lap time and an interesting lap time indeed, because he's only 1/10 behind Lucas Salles. We all know how
Vamos aproveitar esses
competitive
bastidores
Salles
aqui,
is,
que a gente
so
acompanha os
it
treinos
was
livres,
indeed a
toda a
very
preparação
good
antes.
performance from Roman
Os dias
Djinkiewicz.
importantes, né? Hoje, quali com corrida e tal.
Renata.
Raijan ontem liderou no treino. O que aconteceu hoje? Caiu pra 13, teve algum problema no carro? O que foi?
Olha lá, ó. Pneu furado. Infelizmente a gente se prepara, treina, faz tudo para no quali ficar bem na frente, porque aqui a gente sabe que é difícil ultrapassagem. E aí um pneu fura na hora da classificação. É complicado.
Ah, mas tá só começando, calma.
Vamos lá, vamos pra corrida agora, né? Vim lá de trás e vamos ver o que acontece.
É isso, perde a confiança não.
Não, vamos lá, sempre na frente.
É isso, boa, Luque.
Yeah, there we heard from Raijan Mascarello. He had actually a puncture, so that's why his qualifying performance was that poor. So he couldn't do anything. damage contention for him this weekend, so he will focus on a good race recovery this afternoon. We have to remember that we have 2 races throughout the weekend, so yes, actually tomorrow he can have a better performance. The grid will be set considering today's result as well, but Raijan Mascarello is struggling a bit this weekend. Of course, bad luck with the puncture, but he's a very capable driver. Another one that is very aggressive, as is Ayman Darvic. Actually, Raijan Mascarello is the reigning champion of the Sprint Challenge Championship with the older spec of cars. So actually, he's making a step forward this year, competing in the sport class of the Carrera Cup Championship. So let's see if he will be able to recover and get good positions in race 1.
And that's good for us, Carlos, because it makes a nice race overall, because the more fast drivers are behind, the better for
Denis
the
Girani, nosso piloto, que não está na pista hoje, mas é nosso piloto consultor aqui da Porsche Cup Brasil, acompanhando ali a cronometragem. A gente está sentindo, obviamente, a pista está mais fria. Qual que é o tempo que você acha que a carreira vai fechar?
A pista está bem... O clima em Goiânia nessa semana está bem fresquinho, né? Então isso ajuda os carros. Eu acredito que é possível deles entrarem na casa dos 22 alto ou 23 bem baixinho ali. Acho que tem chance. Acho que o recorde é do Marçal, 22,90 e pouco. Quem sabe algum deles consegue bater o recorde aí. Acho que vai ser legal.
É isso. E aí a temperatura para a tarde muda completamente. E o tempo também, né, Denis?
Muda o tempo e muda até um pouco o comportamento do carro, né? Quando esquenta, começa o carro a ficar um pouquinho mais, tem uma tendência de desgastar mais pneu, um pouquinho mais traseiro, então vai ser interessante essa diferença de temperatura aí.
Obrigada, Denis. Luque, com você aí que o bicho pegou, né?
Seems something happened there with Nicolas Costa, if I'm not wrong.
Exactly, yes. And he's retiring. He's going off track, but it's kind of a little bit of a dangerous situation. I think he was able to recuperate, Carlos.
Yeah, let's see if he's able to go to the pits at least. But anyway, we expect in terms of the overall actually pole position. He said something around 122.9 or 123 low. We so far have Nicolas Costa actually setting the pace, 123.427 as we see in the screen, but he expects the lap times to drop a bit, and we see now that Marcel Miller already is even faster, 123.2. That's it, Sergio. And he said that for today's races this afternoon, the expectation is quite different because we expect hotter temperatures. This morning at Goiânia is actually a little bit cold, especially if we consider the standards of the city, but in the afternoon we can expect a hotter temperature, so it alters also the track temperature and the behavior of the cars. That was the explanation of Denis Girani, one of the driver coaches of the series, and that's it. As you said, Werner Neugbauer so far 123.253. We have 1 minute and a half to go still, so we can expect something even better maybe, Sergio.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting what he pointed. I was actually thinking about that, because we might have a new record for the track, because they are very, very close. They are about 0.3 of a second close to the... That's when, in theory, the drivers will try to be faster. So far, Werner Neugebauer got the best time. He's just 0.06 of a second ahead of Marcel Miller. And then we have Nicolas Costa in third with Lucas Salles. A very nice fourth place for Lucas Salles, Carlos, considering that he's from the sports class. He's ahead of now of Rodrigo Melo and Miguel Paludo.
Exatamente. Uma pintura totalmente diferente, uma arte acompanhando as linhas do vento no carro. Enfim, a gente mostrou isso lá em Interlagos. O Adonis arrasa, ficou muito legal.
The top 10 amalgamated will advance, and maybe it's not likely, but maybe Salles can fight for the pole position. But anyway, if we consider the gaps, theoretically the cars from Neugbauer and Miller especially, they will be the favorites. Let's see if Nicolas Costa will be able to compete. And now Rodrigo Melo, is that right? Yes, 123.247. Look at the gap between Melo and Neugbauer, Sergio.
Very nice time by Rodrigo Melo. In a way, unexpected, Carlos, but very good job for him. Congratulations to him. And at the very, very end of the session, this driver here, Arcel Feldman, got a top 10. He's going to the Super Pole. He was around 13, 12, 13 there. Carlos, as you were speaking, I was thinking about Arcel Feldman, said, is he going to miss the Super Pole? He has victory so far. This year, he's been very strong in 2023, but he got the top 10 there, so he's going to the Super Pole with the 10th best time overall after the first 3 sessions of qualifying. Now we'll wait for the Super Pole. The top 10 will follow. So we already know, Carlos, that Lineu Pires will be 11th in the grid, followed by Peter Ferter with Jorge Frangules and Eduardo Menossi right behind them. We have the field behind them, but we'll still have to find out who will be the drivers in the top 10 positions for the race early this afternoon.
Eu ia falar exatamente essa informação do lado do Denis Dirani aqui. Ele falou, cara, tem 22 carros no mesmo segundo. Aí o Thiago Mendonça, sempre rápido, sempre, sempre.
Yeah, interesting information. 22 cars in the same second, so very good level of competitiveness. And you talked about also Feldman, a difficult session for him. Actually, he has to improve a little bit still, because P10 is not a good grid position for him at all, especially considering the championship situation. He's trying to catch up with Miguel Paludo. Paludo leads the season so far with 91 points, and also Feldman is 8 points behind, so he needs to out-qualify or be close to Miguel Paludo in order to fight for the championship title, of course. And interesting to mention also the fact that Rodrigo Melo was also in the elimination zone prior to his final lap time there, and it was actually the fastest overall, 1:23.2. So a very good reaction there from the car number 29 driver. He was actually even behind Alceu Feldman in the middle of the pack there between the sport class and the rookie class drivers, but he was able to get a good lap time, and now preparation for Super Bowl, Sergio.
Yeah, we saw there Porsche number 29 for Rodrigo Melo. Alceu Feldman, as mentioned, he won the second race in Interlagos this year. It was the second race of the year, but he's in the second place, as you mentioned, for very good reasons. He's been very steady overall this year, and these are very good results for him, for this driver who is, I believe he's from the state of Santa Catarina, right, Carlos? But he lives in Curitiba, in the state of Paraná. They are both states south of Brazil. In the south part of Brazil, they are called the south, the states from the south of Brazil, which are Rio Grande do Sul, Santa Catarina, and Paraná. So actually, these are states that have very strong drivers. Mainly Rio Grande do Sul and Paraná have very strong drivers there.
Yeah, I was going to mention this information as well, because
é
uma
aula essa transmissão, uma aula.
Very passionate
Rodrigo
for
Melo,
motorsport.
estamos no caminho para repetir a dose do ano passado aqui em Goiânia, é isso?
Rê, aqui eu sabia que eu tinha velocidade, a gente já fez a pole do ano passado, não foi por acaso, né? E eu vim quietinho nos treinos, eu não passei pneu, eu sabia que a gente estava com velocidade, mas eu queria realmente testar. O primeiro pneu zero que eu passei no fim de semana foi agora.
Olha.
Eu queria testar. E veio. Na verdade, eu não ia fazer a última volta, porque no primeiro setor eu estava um décimo mais lento, mas eu falei, o Duzão já falou, entra. Aí eu comecei o segundo setor, eu vi que o carro veio bem, falei, quer saber, eu vou fechar para fazer P1. Aí eu fechei e fiz P1.
É isso, ainda falta agora, né? Agora vamos pro top 10.
Seja o que Deus quiser, se eu estiver largando entre os 5 primeiros, já estou feliz já.
Foi a pressão do pneu que você mexeu? Que você deu uma ajustada?
A gente, na verdade, aqui a gente tem um pouco de dificuldade de chegar na temperatura certa. A pista estava mais fria do que eu imaginava. Então acho que todo mundo demorou para virar, né? A gente ficou bem lento nas primeiras voltas para ver se chegava com uma borracha boa na hora do pneu, mas estava mais frio do que eu imaginei. Então, por isso que veio tão pro final, assim.
A aerodinâmica, vocês mexeram alguma coisa?
No carro? Agora, para esse quali? Você quer que eu te fale? Não vou falar.
A gente quer saber o segredo.
Não.
Desculpa, eu não vou fazer isso com você, porque eu vou devagarzinho, né? Com a liberdade que eu tenho. Aí ele fala, você quer mesmo? Tipo, você...
Você perguntou a primeira vez, já desviei, agora você pergunta de novo.
A gente tenta, Tá tudo certo, Rô. Vai que cola, né, Luke Monteiro? Vai que cola. Obrigada, Rô. Bom treino. Com vocês aí.
Yeah, funny chat there with Rodrigo Melo, the pace setter so far. Renata Diniz, our pit reporter, asked him about his aerodynamic setup. He didn't give his secret, of course. But anyway, he mentioned the fact that actually the track was cold and that means that all of the drivers, they took a little bit of time there to get a good lap time. So that's why his fastest lap time was actually quite close to the checkered flag in the qualifying session that we just had. So an interesting scenario for the drivers in terms of qualifying pace, because they have to build up the flying lap of the qualifying session. And actually it was the first fresh set of tires that Rodrigo Melo used this weekend. So he was gambling a bit. It worked, and he said that he knew that he would be fast in this track because his first pole position actually in the
Luke.
Porsche Cup Brazil was at Goiânia last year. So
A gente tá querendo
a lot
entender
of
como é que você tá
confidence
mexendo no
there from
celular de
Rodrigo
luva,
Melo, as we
Miguel.
hear now from Miguel
Na verdade,
Paludo.
é só uma foto dos tempos. O engenheiro bateu uma foto e me deu aqui para ver como é que tava os tempos. Só fico na vertical e na horizontal aqui tentando enxergar.
E como é que tá indo?
Tá bem. Foi a primeira vez que a gente passou pneu no final de semana. Acho que se consegue tirar um pouquinho mais do Quali 2, tentar brigar para o 2 mais. Vamos ver o que a gente consegue fazer.
A torcida tá grande aqui no seu box.
Vindo hoje aqui do pessoal da Brent, aqui de Goiânia, então tem que fazer um bom trabalho.
Parece que alguém faz cara feia pro Miguel falando. Obrigada, Miguel.
Valeu.
Bom treino.
Obrigado.
É isso aí, ó. Vamos, Sandrinho. Olha a galera que tá dentro do box do Miguel Paludo. Uma turma. Luke.
Yeah, we heard there from Miguel Paludo. He also used a fresh set of tires for the first time in this qualifying session, but he said that he's still a little bit behind what he wants in terms of qualifying pace. Of course, he wasn't fast as he wanted to be, only P6 for him so far. So he obviously don't want yeah, that's it. Starting P6 for a guy that is fighting for another race win in order to be the guy with most race wins in this category. That's not a good situation so far, but he's confident for the Super Bowl qualifying session that we will have in a moment. Top 10 amalgamated in order to fight for pole position. But Miguel Paludo, for example, he was actually behind Lucas Salles, if I'm not wrong. But anyway, a lot of people in his pits, his garage actually, and a lot of sponsors as well. Brent representatives, the company that is sponsoring Miguel Paludo in this championship for a lot of years already. So pressure for Miguel Paludo, and actually he was explaining to Renata Diniz what he was seeing in the screen there off the phone. He was actually checking the lap times of the qualifying session, so studying for the Super Bowl session that we will have right now. Green flag, Sergio.
Yeah, and these two interviews, Carlos Rodrigo Melos and Miguel Paludos, they are very interesting because they say something sometimes we end up not talking that much about, but it's the management of the tires during the weekend. That's a very important factor for the drivers, for the teams, and that's one of the things that they can work overall during the weekend is when they are going to use new tires, used tires, how they are going to handle all the situation, and that's part of the tactics, Carlos. They are overall strategy for both qualifying and the race. So that's something that we always have to considering for their performance overall during the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. But that's a tricky situation because you cannot waste the tires in the qualifying, actually the practice sessions. So you have to be very confident in your performance in order to have a good lap time straight away when the qualifying session begins, especially the final sessions, such as this Super Bowl that we are seeing in this moment. So that's an important management, as you said, because you cannot waste the tires, but you have to be very fast when you have a fresh set of tires, as Rodrigo Melo explained, and also Miguel Paludo. But so far, the situation is a little bit better for Melo, even though we know that Paludo is a more accomplished driver. But anyway, Melo is improving as a driver in the last couple of years, and the level of competitiveness of Porsche Cup Brazil is always good because of that as well. You have the experienced drivers such as Paludo, a 7-time champion of the series, tied with Constantino Jr. as the guy with most race wins in the series. But of course, you always have new people coming and with a lot of competitiveness, as is the case of Nicolas Costa that we see in the screen. And it seems that his car is okay after that issue that he had in the prior qualifying, the qualifying session that we had prior to this one, Sergio.
Which is a very good news. We want to see him on the track, competing with competitiveness for the pole position. We know he's a very strong competitor, and there we have less than 8 minutes to go in this first qualifying session for the Carrera Cup race this afternoon, this Saturday afternoon. Please stay tuned with us. Make sure to stay tuned with us, because after that we'll have the qualifying session for the Sprint Challenge Championship. So that will be another round of 4 qualifying sessions, first for the rookie class, then for the sport class, then the main Sprint Challenge, and then the top 10. Then we'll find out who is going to be the pole position for the race this afternoon. As it happens, we'll have first the Carrera Cup race this afternoon, and then we'll have the Sprint Challenge race, as we see Nicolas Costa opening the field for Marcel Miller, for Alceu Feldman to pass him with the Porsche #1. That is Alceu Feldman, who was 10th overall in the first 3 qualifying sessions, but now, of course, he's looking forward to improve his time and maybe even start there top 5 or even pole position, as we know he's capable of being very fast on the field.
Yeah, and so far, lap times that are not representative, 124, 1 only for Alceu Feldman. We saw that Melo's lap time in the previous qualifying session was 123.2. Also, Werner Neubauer clocked 123.2, if I'm not wrong. So we can expect lap times close to this benchmark or even faster, as Denis Girani was talking about, the driver coach of Porsche Cup Brazil. Actually, we talked about the track record. As Girani said, it was 122.9 in terms of qualifying pace set by Marcel Miller. I don't remember when, but I believe last year. But
last year, it was last year, yes.
Yeah, with the new cars. Actually, it's important to mention that we have this Porsche 992 cars from the beginning of last year's championship, new spec of cars, and older cars that we had in this Carrera Cup Championship, the 991-2 cars. They are being used by the Sprint Challenge Championship. So it's not that big, the difference of horsepower between the cars, 460 horsepower for the 992 cars and 450 for the 991-2, but the technology, transmission, braking, all of that stuff, they make the 992 cars a little bit faster, as we see the sectors of Salles, Feldman, and Ginkiewicz.
Yeah, Lucas Salles, so far the fastest driver. Alceu Feldman second, then Roman Zinkiewicz, Nicolas Costa and Miguel Paludo rounding the top 5, of course, as you see. From Nicolas Costa to and behind, they didn't set up a good time yet. Miguel Paludo now sets the second best time, but Lucas Salles still very, very fast. Carlos, it's impressive what Lucas Salles has been doing this weekend. You know, Miguel Paludo is a very, very fast driver, but Lucas Salles is ahead of him. It's a little bit over under 1/10 of a second, but it's still there, 8-9 hundredths of a second actually. that Lucas Salles faster than Miguel Paludo, and then we have Alceu Feldman in third.
Yeah, but I'm still expecting faster lap times there. 1:23.6. It's actually slower than Miller's lap time in yesterday's free practice, and we saw that the drivers can do better, as does Alceu Feldman and Nicolas Costa, Sergio.
Oh, look, Nicolas Costa is the new record. Carlos, the old record was 122.930, and he just set up 122.857. So far is the new record for the Goiânia racetrack, for the Ayrton Senna International Circuit. Of course, it might be improved yet. We still have over 3 minutes to go, but great lap time by Nicolas Costa, Carlos Costa.
Yeah, nice to see Nicolas bouncing back after a difficult round at Velocità. Actually, it was the very first time that he raced in Velocità, and now racing in a circuit that he already knows and performing very well after an eventful qualifying session that we had before this one. So 122.8, a new track record in Goiânia, as you said. Let's see if Marcel Miller will reclaim this track record. He's currently 10th, so not a representative lap time for Marcel. Actually 5 seconds adrift, so he didn't get a good lap time. So far as we see, Werner Neugebauer also fighting for a good lap time there. He was actually second in the previous qualifying session, so maybe we will see even faster lap times, as the gap between Costa and Salles isn't that big, especially considering that Salles is from the sport class. So once more we have to praise Lucas' performance, and let's see the new lap times. Neugebauer now.
Yeah, Rodrigo Melo got the third, now fourth fast time. Werner Neugebauer is the second fast time. Good effort by Neugebauer. Of course, we expect to see what this driver there will do. Marcel Miller, he was the fastest during free practice on Friday. Marcel Miller, we know he's a very strong driver, very fast driver. He was runner-up in last year's championship, and now, of course, he's looking for yet another ring for him. He has already, he is a champion already of the category, and there is Marcel Miller. Let's see what he's going to be able to do. And he improved, but he's not there yet. He got the fourth best time.
Yeah, now we see Rodrigo Melo. That was actually the faster of the previous qualifying session. Let's see if he can deliver something close to Nicolas Costa's lap time. So far, only Nicolas, if I'm not wrong, around 122. If I'm not wrong, Neugebauer's lap time is 123. Let me double check there.
Yes, 123.020, yes.
Yeah, 123.020. So Nicolas Costa is flying, as we can see in the timesheet so far, Sergio.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's impressive what he's been doing so far, what he's done so far. Werner Neugebauer is still second. Lucas Salles, we are about to end the Super Pole. Lucas Salles is still an impressive third place. Still, he is from the sports class. We were talking about him in the beginning of our transmission, his battle for the championship. And now he is doing, he's having a really nice performance there, trying to get back to, or to become the leader of the sports class championship. As we still have the highlight for Marcel Miller in the number 544. Nicolas Costa is already on the pits. He feels very confident, I would say, Carlos, that he will get this pole position.
Yeah, I believe so. Let's see Werner Neugebauer's final attempt. The checkered flag has been waved already, but we have some cars in fast lap time attempts there, especially, I would say, car number 3. Yeah, that is Franco Giaffoni, sport class driver, actually. But I would say I would bet on Nicolas Costa's pole position, Sergio.
Yes, you see cars number 3 and 8, they are from the same team, they're going to the pits. So that's it, Carlos. We have Nicolas Costa as the pole position for the Carrera Cup race this afternoon. Well, we still have 544 there of Marcel Miller. he sure, I would say, he
Already slow.
expected more. No, it's gone. It's gone. I mean, so it's official. I'd say Nicolas Costa is the pole position. There he is commemorating. Very nice, very well done. Nice time, new record for Nicolas Costa with Werner Neugebauer also having a great effort, Carlos, with Lucas Salles. Impressive again, I would point out, in third place.
Yeah, definitely. The three of them are very important highlights. Salles because he's from the intermediate class, but both Neugbauer and especially Costa with very good performances. Important pole position for Nicolas Costa because he didn't get points for actually from the second race of the Velocitar round. So it was indeed a very difficult weekend for him at Mogi Guaçu in the inner part of São Paulo State last time out in the sprint championship, but now pole position for him, bouncing back from a difficult weekend, and Costa actually had a very good season opener
Tô
round
sim.
at Goiânia,
Parabéns, Nicolas Costa. Mais uma, hein? Você vai ter que ter um espaço para guardar esse troféu.
Coming back
3
to his
etapas,
standard.
3 poles. Feliz
Let's hear
demais,
from
ó. Troféu pole position da Mobil para você.
Muito obrigado, Renatinha. Mais uma vez, completamente realizado com essa pole position. Que nem no Velocitar. A gente não liderou nenhum treino, a gente não liderou o Q1. Chega no Q2, a gente tenta dar uma volta, banzar e ver se funciona. Funcionou de novo, graças a Deus. O carro respondeu muito bem. A gente teve um pequeno problema técnico no Q1. A gente abortou a minha volta rápida. Mas, bom, o que eu posso dizer? Não poderia esperar mais do que isso, né? Tenho que agradecer de novo as pessoas que permitem eu estar aqui. A Prio, minha patrocinadora, todo mundo que acredita em mim. Meus amigos estão em casa assistindo. Um beijão para todo mundo. Quero falar também um parabéns pro Eros, quem me ajuda muito na minha carreira. Então, essa pole é para você. E vamos que vamos para a corrida mais tarde.
E o seu grande diferencial foi no setor 1, né?
Não sei, você que tá me dizendo.
Foi na 1 e na 3.
Eu só tentei acelerar e torcer.
Boa, tá só começando. É isso aí, obrigada.
Obrigado a vocês.
Luque?
Yeah, very happy Nicolas Costa there celebrating his pole position, saying thank you to all his sponsors and crew. Of course, he has to celebrate, and actually he didn't know that he was very fast in the first and last sector, as Renata Diniz informed him. And actually, it's nice to see him bouncing back. We can see that this pole position is very important for him, and it's only the beginning of the weekend in terms of decisive sessions, pole position. But now we have today's afternoon race for Carrera Cup, as we see Lucas Salles also celebrating his third position in terms of the overall grid, and of course pole position in the sport class division.
Yeah, there is Lucas Salles there. Fourth best time was Marçal Miller. Then we had Rodrigo Melo, Alceu Feldman, Miguel Paludo, Franco Giafone, Nelson Monteiro, and Roman Zinkiewicz. I would say, Carlos, that Miguel Paludo was a little bit not disappointing, but I would say he expected more in this race, that he's looking forward to be a record holder in the overall victories. He has the most victories in Goiânia among the drivers who will be competing this Saturday afternoon and on Sunday, but he will start only 7th overall, so you have lots of work to do if he wants to improve his position. And another great effort, I would say, Carlos, is by one great effort was by Rodrigo Melo, was fastest in the qualifying session of just the Carrera Cup drivers, but he was 5th overall. It's a very good time for Rodrigo Melo, and that's what he expected in his interview, Carlos. He said, I will be very happy if I get a top 5.
Yeah, that's true. He said that the top 5 would be satisfying for him. As you said, good result for Rodrigo Melo. He has been struggling actually this season, so that's an important result for the driver. He's only P12 in the championship standing so far. Yeah, that's it. 30 points for Melo compared to 91 for Miguel Paludo, so that's a big gap, and we know that he's a better driver than what his championship standings situation suggests. And just talking about Miguel Paludo, indeed it was a disappointing session for him. As you said, from the drivers of this current grid, the guy with most race wins at Goiânia, 3 triumphs for him in the Ayrton Senna International Circuit. And actually, he's the most recent race winner in this track of the Carrera Cup Championship. So certainly Miguel Paludo expected a better result, but we all know that he's capable of bouncing back and having a good recovery race. And now, green flag for the Sprint Challenge qualifying session, Sergio.
Yeah, we have 6 cars in the Rookie Sprint Challenge class. And talking overall about the Sprint Challenge category, because I'd like to point to 2 drivers here. One is Claudio Simão, and the other is Eduardo Taurissano, because Claudio Simão is coming from the new category that Porsche Cup Brazil put together. It's the category for drivers who are just starting their career, and these 2 drivers, Claudio Simão and Eduardo Taurissano, are coming from this category that just started this year, so Sprint Trophy. So they got Claudio Simão is competing for the first time, let's say, but among quotes, among the big guys, and also Eduardo Taurissano, who won the first 2 races in this new category, and now I would say he's being promoted overall for the Sprint Challenge race, because he was so dominant in the Sprint Trophy races that he did, that now we see him in the Sprint Challenge, Carlos.
Yeah,
and he's going to be competing in the main challenge, so he's not in the field right now.
Which just shows how competitive he has been so far this year in Porsche Cup Brazil. As you said, he was racing in the Sprint Trophy Championship, a school championship, if you can say so, in Porsche Brazil. And he was so dominant, as you said, that he has now been promoted to the main class, which is very remarkable. We could expect him to be racing in the sport class, maybe, something like that. For example, Claudio Simão is driving in the rookie class, which is natural, because it is the very first step forward. But 3 steps actually for Eduardo Taurissano. Actually, he didn't race in the last round of the Sprint Trophy Championship, already out of the contention last time out, and I believe he was already preparing himself for the Sprint Challenge that he would have this weekend at Goiânia. Actually, he was racing in the Endurance Challenge Series 300 km.
Vamos aproveitar para falar com o Lucas Salles, que está sempre correndo muito bem, se colocando muito bem na geral, garantiu apoio na sua categoria, e terceiro na geral, Lucas Salles.
Eu fiquei bem surpreso. A segunda saída, né, no top 10, o carro já estava quente da primeira sessão, então o pneu já vem com mais temperatura, facilita ele dar as 2 primeiras voltas, que são de aquecimento, já com mais velocidade, então o carro ficou certinho para a hora que importava. E aí eu vi que faltava pouquinho ali para pôr em geral, dei uma empolgada, passei um pouquinho do ponto, mas aí já tinha garantido ali o terceiro lugar da Pole da Sport. Muito feliz.
Obrigada. Luque.
Yeah, interesting information there by Lucas Salles. He said that since his tires were already in a good temperature due to the previous qualifying session, he was able to be fast straight away in the Super Pole quali session. 2 build-up laps. He was actually a little bit anxious in his final attempt, so overdrived a bit, but anyway, he was able to get a good overall grid position, and he guaranteed a pole position for the sport class division of the main Carrera Cup Championship, as we see now. Célio Brasil in the Sprint Challenge Rookie Class Division quali session. Interesting one, because only 6 cars, but we can expect a good fight between the main drivers. I would say Célio Brasil especially, but also the guys that have been racing in this class already, Luis Souza, Américo Lanzoni, and these drivers. Of course, Claudio Simão will be adapting, so let's see how he fares, Sergio.
Exactly, Célio Brasil, great time for him. Now, Marco Túlio got the fastest time. Célio Brasil falls to second. Luis Souza is in third. We have 6 drivers competing for the rookie class in the Sprint Challenge Championship. 9 drivers will be competing in the sports class, and 7 overall in the challenge class. We had 6 in the challenge class last 2 races, last 2 rounds. Each round has 2 races. But now with the addition of Eduardo Taurissano we have 7 drivers in the main sprint challenge. Of course, all drivers compete for the overall championship, but what's expected, it's the main sprint challenge drivers are the ones that actually are going to battle for the title. There we have car number 7 of Luis Souza. Luis Souza is third fastest so far. This is the Porsche, this Porsche, and Claudio Simão so far is the last. Renata.
Ah, essa falta que você está sentindo do Israel é porque ele subiu de categoria, agora ele é esporte.
Yeah, important information as well, because we don't see Israel Salman among the rookie class drivers of the Sprint Challenge Championship. That's the reason is that he has been promoted to the sport class division. So step forward for Israel Salman, and that's very fair. He has been very competitive so far in this 2023 Porsche Cup Brazil season, and now he will compete with the sport class drivers. He was a little bit ahead of the pack in the rookie class indeed, so a fair promotion for Israel Salman.
Yeah, he was the leader in the championship for the rookie class. Of course, now he's going to battle in the sport class, but it's always a good challenge. And that's a nice thing I like about Porsche Cup, Carlos, is that drivers are promoted alongside the championship. So it's not a tight situation, you know, you're not tightened to a specific situation. The organizer are always looking to the driver's performance, and they're being able to be, let's say, quote unquote, promoted alongside during the year, which is a very good. It's very, let's say, rewarding for the drivers. That's something that they look for. Let's say if they are ahead of the pack in their category, and oh, you have to wait until next year to try to battle in the championship in the next best class. But no, they are able to do this as soon as the organization concludes that they're ready to do so.
Yeah, and rewarding for the driver, as you said, but that's always a new challenge because the competitiveness standard is higher theoretically in a more competitive class of the championship. And just talking about the championship standings of the rookie class, as you said, Israel Salman was the leader so far, 53 points for him. Luis Souza, 46 points. Eric Santos, 36 points. Américo Lanzoni, 34. Célio Brasil, 33. And Gabriel Vallone, which is not racing this weekend, 23 points.
And Carlos, I'd like to make a correction. I mentioned that the race this afternoon will be 4 p.m., 5 p.m. GMT. A couple of times it will be actually 4 p.m. GMT because GMT is 3 hours from Brazil. So it will be 1 p.m. Brazilian time, the race this afternoon, and then 4 p.m. GMT, and of course it's 12 noon Eastern US time, or 9 a.m. Pacific time in the US. Of course, the main time there is GMT. That's, you know, that it's the reference worldwide is the GMT time. That's Célio Brasil with Porsche number 139. He is the second fastest so far. He's doing a great work. Now we see Marco Tullio, he leads the pack. Claudio Simão just got the 4th best time, so it's good for him, who is just starting in his main sprint challenge category. But Marco Tullio, so far with 1:27.37, has been the fastest driver as we get to the end of this first qualifying session for the sprint challenge rookie class. Now, after this, we have the sprint challenge sports class, and then the sprint challenge main class, the main guys in the sprint class, and that will be interesting to see what's going to happen. We cannot forget, Carlos, that we have in this main sprint challenge class Antonella Bassani, who's been doing very well so far. He's one of the stars of this championship.
Yeah, one of the most interesting names of this Sprint Challenge Championship, a very young driver, the only female one of the grid, as we see the checkered flag being waved. So I believe pole position for Marco Tullio in the rookie class of the Sprint Challenge Championship. And just talking about the lap times, it's interesting to see how bigger the gaps are in this rookie class of the Sprint Challenge Championship. Theoretically, the less competitive class of all the ones that we have this weekend. So a bigger gap in terms of lap times between the drivers as we see the final attempt there. I believe from Marco Tullio, which is already pole position. So he has to celebrate a very good performance from him. That's it, half of a second in terms of gap between himself and Sério Brasil. So Sério wasn't able to get the first position of the grid in his class this time out, but also Claudio Simão with a very good performance, making his debut in this championship. Not that good result for Luis Souza, Eric Santos, and Américo Lanzoni, veterans, if we can say so, of this class, but they struggled a bit, especially Lanzoni, 2 seconds and 3/10 adrift from the pace setter Marco Tullio. So it's natural, I would say, Sergio. In theory, the less competitive class will have bigger gaps between the drivers.
Yes, you're totally right, Carlos. But I'd say I'll highlight there, as you've said, Claudio Simão, third best time. So he was right in the middle of the pack, a little bit ahead of the middle of the. He was in the first half of the pack. Let's say we have 6 drivers there in the rookie class, but a very nice work by Claudio Simão, and in his first participation in the overall sprint challenge race. So it will be nice for him, definitely, and we will be looking forward to see his performance this afternoon and tomorrow on Sunday. There is the highlight for American Lanzoni, who was last. It's Luis Souza, and now we will have 9 or 10 sport class drivers. We have one more, I believe, but anyway, we have a strong field, as it happens in the Carrera Cup field. The strongest field in the Sprint Challenge is with the sport class drivers. It's a very strong field that will be the qualifying next, their section next, right? Because the pole position will only find out after the 4th and last qualifying session for the Sprint Challenge Championship.
Yeah, but it's interesting to see that the midfield is always very crowded. We have 9 cars in the sport class division of the Sprint Challenge Championship. In the Carrera Cup Championship, we had 13 cars, so very crowded midfield, which is interesting because the level of competitiveness is higher and higher and higher. And we always can see some of these drivers competing alongside the drivers of the main classes of each championship. In Carrera Cup, the main Carrera class, and in Sprint Challenge, the main Sprint Challenge class, which has 7 drivers, which is a lot, actually, even more than the main Carrera class that has 6 drivers. Of course, we are talking about the number of cars and drivers for this specific round of Goiânia, as we see that the sport class drivers are preparing, and Marco Tullio is talking with his engineers, certainly giving some feedbacks there, but it's time to celebrate, Marco. Pole position for you in the rookie class of the Sprint Challenge Championship.
Yeah, as we see him very concentrated, still waiting there. The cars for the sport class are already ready to go, or some of them at least. We see ahead of them Gustavo Zanon. Behind Zanon, we have Israel Salman, who moved from, as we mentioned before, moved from rookie to sport class. Then we have Seba Malucelli in the Porsche number 100. This is the 3rd driver to hit the track. And again, we'll have 10 minutes already with less than 10 minutes to go. But it's a short session, but that's more than enough for the drivers to show best performance. Looking forward for the pole position, at least in their class. But for sure, Carlos, some of these drivers will move to the Super Pole. They have 7 Sprint Challenge overall drivers, so even if the 7 go to the Super Pole, we still have 3 places left in theory for these drivers for
Luque.
that compete in the sport class.
Chegou chegando. Marco Túlio, mesmo perdendo a melhor volta, garantiu, foi lá, se superou e tá feliz demais com esse resultado.
Tô, com certeza. Primeiro treino com o carro foi na quarta-feira, então a gente tá pegando a mão do carro um pouco. A gente perdeu a melhor volta, acho que eu cruzei a saída de boxe, mas mesmo assim consegui 2 voltas boas, então acho que a segunda a gente vai conseguir ser pole ainda, então muito feliz com o resultado aí, trabalho meu, do Pedrão, meu coach, então muito feliz. Vamos ver se a gente consegue ir pro top 10 agora.
Obrigada. Luque?
Yeah, we heard there from Marco Tullio, and now we know why he was waiting a bit to celebrate, because his fastest lap time was not considered. He actually went over the pit exit line, so that lap time wasn't considered. But anyway, he was able still to get the pole position of the class, and now he will wait to see if he's able to compete in the last qualifying session, the top 10 amalgamated of the whole Sprint Challenge Championship grid. It will be difficult because there's 7 cars, is that right, in the main Sprint Challenge class. That's it, 7 cars, 9 cars of the sport class, so the top 10 amalgamated will be very difficult to reach for Marco Tullio, but maybe that happens. Anyway, as you were explaining, Sergio, 1/3 of these sport class drivers may advance to the final qualifying session, which is interesting because apart from the pole position fight in the class specifically, they will be fighting for making a step forward, if we can say so, because it's always nice to see the midfield drivers battling alongside the main class drivers, and that's a good opportunity for all of them. It's interesting also to mention the championship standings in the sport class division of the Sprint Challenge Championship. So far, we have as leader Antonio Junqueira with 60 points, so a very big gap actually between Junqueira and the second in the standings so far, that is Seba Marucelli, 38 points for him. Then we have Sadaki Leite, that was actually the fastest of yesterday's free practice, and the rest of the pack, Gustavo Zanoni 28 points, Artur Ramos 24, and so on.
Yeah, Antonio Junqueira has been having a very strong performance this year. I would say, because he's in the overall.
Luque, vamos aproveitar e falar com o Célio Brasil? Tá aqui assim, concentrado, pensando, é este final de semana, agora faz.
Na última prova a gente não teve um resultado muito bom, mas isso já é passado, agora é focar lá na frente, né? Tentamos buscar a pole de todo jeito, não veio aquela volta ainda, mas nós vamos deixar ela guardada para a corrida, pode esperar que vem coisa boa aí.
Muito bom, o que você acha que faltou ali?
Faltou, o carro estava perfeito, faltou abusar um pouquinho do limite da margem que eu tinha para poder usar e não utilizamos. Vamos deixar ali para a corrida, né?
Guardou ouro.
Guardamos ouro para a corrida agora. Buscar a constância e assumir o nosso lugar lá na frente.
Obrigado.
Obrigado a vocês.
Luque.
Yeah, we heard there from Célio Brasil, second fastest in the rookie class qualifying session. Of course, a little bit of a bittersweet sensation for him after the qualifying session, because he was fast but wasn't able to claim the pole position. But he said that his car is good, so he expects a good race. He's betting also, if we can say so, in his consistency in order to get this race win. And he said that he lacked a bit of aggressiveness, if we can say so, in terms of qualifying pace to out-qualify Marco Tullio. He said that he should be closer to the edge, if we can say so, closer to the limits. But anyway, a good result for Célio Brasil. And we were talking about Antonio Junqueira. Very nice to see how he has been fast straight away from the very beginning of the Sprint Championship this year. A former GT Sprint Race driver that is now NASCAR Brazil Sprint Race Championship in our country. So his level of competitiveness has always been very high, and now he's showing his credentials in Porsche Cup Brazil, Sergio.
Yes, we see there number 66 of Sadaka Leite. So far, fast time is still from Marco Tullio, that races in the rookie class. But we have Israel Salman that moved from rookie to sport, his second best time. And we have now Carlos Campos in the third place with Porsche number 14. Célio Brasil is still there, fourth. Now he's fifth, and Sadak Leite is there in first. Marco Tulio and Israel Salmo. Impressive Marco Tulio, still there in second. And Antonio Junqueira gets the third best time so far in this sports class. So good performance so far by Antonio Junqueira with a little bit under 4 minutes to go in this session for the sports class drivers. There we have Gustavo Zanon again, highlighting him. We have also Ramon Alcaraz. I believe Ramon Alcaraz didn't participate in the last race, Carlos. I might be wrong, but I didn't have him in my lineup for last race in Velocita. Actually, one driver who's not participating in this race, Carlos, is Sang Ho Kim, the South Korean driver that is not competing in this third round of the Porsche Cup sprint race.
Yeah, that's right. And as you said, Ramon Alcaraz didn't compete last time out. You were right, the Velocita round. And we don't have also Junior Ginardi that also didn't race at Velocita. So some of the drivers missing this Goiânia round. André Gaidzinski, also one of the drivers that is missing this round and also didn't participate last time out in Velocita, which is good for the rest of the pack because less competitors to beat in order to advance into the all-important qualifying session that defines pole position.
It's true, it's true. No doubt about that. We see there it's Israel Salman. Let's see what he's been able to do. He's the fastest so far. You see him atop of the charts. Now he is. So right now, we have the top 5 are sport class drivers. And we have in 6 Marco Tulio, who had a great effort, still 6 overall. But we have Israel Salman, then number 33 of Gustavo Zanon, Sadak Leite, and Antonio Junqueira is the 4th overall. With in number 5th is Carlos Campos. Carlos Campos exactly is 5th overall, less than 1 second so far up to this point, Carlos, separating the top 6 drivers on the charts.
Yeah, and we were talking about Antonio Junqueira that we see in the screen right now. So far, not so good for him because he has to be in the top 3 in order to advance to the last qualifying session that defines the top 10 of the grid. Let's see if he gets a good lap time in this attempt.
Yeah, and that also makes it more difficult, right? To start behind the top 10, it never helps in his quest for sport championship, of course. Even though he in theory battles for the overall championship, you know, it is very, very hard, as we see in car from Israel Salman right behind the number 33 of Gustavo Zanon. So we have Gustavo Zanon, Israel Salman. Israel Salman is on the top right now in first, but Gustavo Zanon is in second. So it's a great effort by Gustavo Zanon as well, but he's pretty much half a second behind Israel Salman. So Israel Salman, very good performance overall comparing to his competitors, Carlos.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that he has improved his benchmark. The gap between Salman and Zanon wasn't that big some moments ago. So an even better lap time there from Israel Salman, which just shows why he was promoted from rookie class to sport class. And Junqueira was able to get into the top 3 there, so he demoted Carlos Campos to the 4th position. But the clock is still ticking, so until the checkered flag, something might change there.
Yeah, Walter Lester just got the 6th best time. Good effort by number 19. Marco Tulio is still the fastest among the rookie class. Well, that will not change, but he's 7th overall. So that's a good time for him. He has 3 cars from the sports class behind him. So was able to be ahead. Most drivers are already going to the pits. Some are still trying to improve their time, of course. So far, we know that Israel Salman Gustavo Zanon, and Antonio Junqueira, the top three up to this moment. These three are going for sure to the final round to find out who is going to be the pole position, as we will have 7 sprint challenge cars and its total of 10 going to the Super Pole. So top three there, as you mentioned, Carlos, are guaranteed. And who knows, Carlos Campos, might have a long shot there. He who is in fourth place, but it will be hard for him. You had really to be crossing his fingers that some problem might happen to some driver of the main sprint challenge category for him to advance to the top 10 round.
Yeah, let's wait and see, but nice to see this top three that advances to the final qualifying session. We still have the main sprint challenge class qualifying session prior to the top 10 amalgamated fighting for pole position, as we saw.
Look at that.
Funny scene there. But the three guys that will advance, they are very competitive. We talked about the fact that Israel Salman has been promoted. Gustavo Zanon, if I'm not wrong, is the reigning rookie class champion of the Sprint Challenge Championship. So a guy that has been improving from last year, as we see there. Matheus Iorio, one of the driver coaches, talking to his protege there, if you can say so, as we see the highlight of Israel Salman's green liveried car there. And good expectation for the next qualifying session, because a lot of competitive drivers to come, such as Marcelo Tomazzoni, the championship leader so far. And interesting to mention also the championship standings situation. Tomazzoni has 92 points to his name, only 11 points ahead of Christian Mort, second so far. And as you pointed out, Antonio Junqueira, even being from the sport class division, he's still able to compete in the top three of the main sprint challenge championship, 77 points to Junqueira. Urubatan Jr. has 74 points, and Antonella Bassani, the only female driver of the grid, 69. So Antonella Bassani already performing very well straight away in the first season that she competes in Porsche Cup Brazil.
Yeah, Antonio Junqueira actually, Carlos, won the race, the second race at Velocitar. So it was a very good performance for him there. And he is just 4 points shy of Christian Moore, who is second in the overall Sprint Challenge Championship. They are a little bit more behind Marcelo Tomassoni. Marcelo Tomassoni has 92 points, but we have to remember that this is just we just had 2 rounds so far, so this will be the 3rd round. The championship has 6 rounds of 2 races each for the sprint championship, and the endurance series, the endurance championship for Porsche Cup Brazil, has 3 rounds overall. We just had the first round in Interlagos, and I believe, Carlos, is still not confirmed where we're going to have the second round, right? Because the third round in Interlagos will be a 500 kilometers, but we still don't know which.
Caraca! Acabou de sair da Rookie, subiu para esporte e já chegou chegando, cara. Parabéns, Israel.
Arrumando confusão pra minha vida, né? Subindo pra categoria de cima, o pessoal anda muito forte. Mas me preparei bem, tô confiante, mas ainda tem o próximo, né? Pra gente fazer o top 10 e se tudo der certo. E depois tem a corrida, poxa, eu acho que o mais importante é a corrida, a gente ficar calmo, tranquilo, com disciplina, ser constante, que é o mais importante, e vamos pra cima, eu tô feliz demais.
Mas a gente percebe que como a disputa é muito justa, os tempos são muito próximos, qualquer mínimo detalhe faz muita diferença. A gente percebeu que a sua diferença foi no terceiro setor, que foi o melhor do que de todo mundo ali.
Eu não sei de onde que eu achei esse terceiro setor não, viu, minha filha? Porque desde quinta-feira eu tô buscando ele ali, só apareceu hoje. Espero que ele não desapareça, né?
Muito bom. Parabéns.
Valeu demais, valeu.
Lucky.
Yeah, funny chat there with Israel Salman. Pole position of the sport class division of the Sprint Challenge Championship of Porsche Cup Brazil. Renata Diniz, our pit reporter, asked him about his advantage over his class rivals. That was the last sector. And it was interesting that he said that from Thursday, the first extra practice session that we had this weekend, he was chasing a good last sector, and it only worked out in this very qualifying session that we had moments ago. So he's very happy with his performance, but already focusing on the race that we will have this afternoon. And of course, we have to remember that he will be competing in the last qualifying session of this weekend, competing for pole position, but theoretically, we can assume that the drivers from the main sprint challenge will be ahead of the pack overall.
Now we have the main sprint challenge drivers on the track. Will be 7 drivers competing. We highlight again the presence of Eduardo Taurissano, who moved from the new Cup Brazil category, which is the sprint trophy, the school category, as Carlos very well explained, and he moved directly from there to the main sprint challenge. So it's a big step overall for Eduardo Taurissano. We are going to be looking forward for his performance, and also highlighting, as we mentioned before, Antonella Bassani, who is the only female there, number 72, who is the only female driver competing in the category, very young, very talented, and very bold. She has very, very nice history. She started racing young with go-karts, and she's having so far a brilliant career, and she's competing in this Porsche number 72. Now we have less than 8 minutes to go, and then after that we'll have for the 4th and final round of this qualifying, where we'll find out the top 10 drivers.
Yeah, and just talking about Antonella Bassani, if I'm not wrong, she's 16 years old, so very young, and she's a member of the Young Racing Academy program of Porsche Cup Brazil. So we are talking about a 2 times finalist of the FIA Girls on Track competition, a very accomplished driver in go-karts already. So from the very beginning of her career, she was competitive, and now adapting to the heavier cars that we have in Porsche Brazil. So it's a challenge for her, and already paying off, because she has been very competitive from the very beginning of the season. It's interesting to see how she's getting a little bit more calm in terms of qualifying sessions, also race pace, because if you remember, Sergio, she was very, very nervous before her first qualifying session back at Interlagos, and now already battling with the veterans of the series with no problems.
Which is very good for her. I think it's part of the development of any driver, of course. Well, I'm glad that we were able to see this beginning of her career at Porsche Cup, to be able to follow her development as a driver. And I'm sure, and I hope, actually I'm sure, because that she'll be a very accomplished driver overall. She has all the talent, she has all the skills, and I hope to see her as she gets older and gets more experience, to be able to compete more and more in different categories. Of course, we want to see her always here at Porsche Cup with us, but if she moves on to other categories, it will be nice how she will perform, as we need always, Carlos, more and more female drivers in the overall in motorsport. It's not only Cup, but it's also in motorsport, and it's always nice to see that. And also, Carlos, you see that as a teenager, she sets a very good example for other girls that like racing and like to compete.
Yeah, and as you said, it is very important to have young female drivers in motorsport as a whole, as we saw a bit of a lockup there with Christian Moore. But anyway, it's important because it's an inspiration as well, and it's always nice to have all different kinds of people in a sport. Motorsport is not different. So if she is competitive, and if she is able to train, to practice, to focus, and to have an accomplished racing career, it's very nice to see her, and she's already given a good example, as you see the replay of the lockup of the front right of Christian Moore, if I'm not wrong. That's important because maybe he has flat spotted that tire. Let's wait and see his lap times.
That might give a chance to Carlos Campos and see who is 4th overall so far. was fourth best in the fourth class. And let's see. Oh, someone hit Christian Moore again. I don't know if it was him, Carlos, because oh no, it's not Christian Moore. It's not Christian Moore.
No,
I don't know if you're being able to spot there.
Miguel Mariotti.
Miguel Mariotti. Yeah, there he is. Miguel Mariotti.
I think it was alone. Let's see the replay.
With 4 minutes to go, less than 4 minutes to go in this session. That's not good for Miguel Mariotti. We see afterwards, Carlos, after what happened. And look. Yeah, and wow. So that was after him. We had the problem with Josimar Jr. Had a problem. Josimar Jr. Had to make an evasive maneuver, and he left Miguel Mariotti. So 2 cars involved in that.
Yeah, that's it. As we see the replay once more, and it's interesting because we have this sort of red.
Yeah, this is a very dry area of the country, right, Carlos? It doesn't rain that much alongside this area. In Brazil, at least in this time of the year, during this time of the year. Remember, we are in fall in Brazil, about to start winter next month, differently from the northern hemisphere, which is the opposite, of course. And there we have Urubatã Jr. So far, Carlos, we have is Alman on top of the charts with Gustavo Zanetti second, with less than 2.5 minutes to go. Let's see what's going to happen. Antonella Bassani is the fastest driver up to this point among the main Sprint Challenge competitors, with Antônio Junqueira in 4th overall, and then Carlos Campos. The second best Sprint Challenge driver is Christian Moore, who is in 7th. Wow, that's very surprising up to this point with 2 minutes to go, Carlos.
Yeah. Can you hear me, Sergio? I think my microphone was unplugged.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. I was going to talk about that red land that we have at Goiânia. As you said, a very dry region of Brazil. The soil is very specific there, but interesting results so far, as you pointed. Now we have, alongside Antonella Bassani, Josimar Jr. in the top 3. Josimar was able to out-qualify Antonella so far, at least. But anyway, we still have drivers of the main Sprint Challenge class out of the top 10, especially Urubatã Jr. That is a competitive driver, so a little bit weird to see him out of the top 10. Miguel Mariotti had that incident, so that's natural to see him out of the top 10 so far, at least. And for a moment, Marco Tulio was advancing to that all-important qualifying session that defines the top 10, but now he's already out of contention. But anyway, very good performance for him, as we see that he is ahead of 2 cars of the main Sprint Challenge class, which just shows how good he was in his qualifying session, as we see that Antonella Bassani is going to the pit.
Yeah, and up to this point, Eduardo Taurissano is on the top 10. So far, he's advancing to the Super Pole. He's advancing as last. Of course, there is Urubatã Jr., as you mentioned, it's a driver we expect to improve his time. And actually, Eduardo Taurissano just gets behind. Israel Salman is still on top of the charts. Wow, that's impressive. But Eduardo Taurissano lost his spot among the top 10 because of Urubatã Jr. Urubatã Jr. is the 9th best time overall, so he improved. There he is. It's the car number 1, the Porsche number 1. Easy to spot Urubatã Jr. He has this dark blue that he competes. He always uses these colors.
Yeah, and number 1 for his car, even though he's not the reigning champion. And now Miguel Mariotti is a 6th. So yeah, that's it. Eduardo Taurissano out and Sadaki Leite out as well. Let's see if it stays like that.
And so far, Campos is there, Carlos. Wow. So after all, Carlos Campos, he's still there. I believe he's in 9th overall. and I believe he's going to advance to the top 10. So the four best drivers in the sport class are advancing to the 10, to the final battle for the pole position race Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. Brazilian time, 12 Eastern US time, or 4 p.m. GMT. And then we have races tomorrow at the same time on Sunday to be the second round, the second race of each of Carrera Cup and Sprint Challenge that we have this weekend. This weekend is 2 races per weekend, or per round, or per weekend that we have in the Sprint Challenge Brazil. So it's overall 12 races where these drivers fight for the championship.
Yeah, that's it. And now we have the confirmation of the top 10. Eduardo Taurizano wasn't able to improve his lap time there, so he's out of the last qualifying session. A natural result as well. He's making his debut in this main Sprint Challenge class of the Sprint Challenge Championship, a former Porsche Sprint Trophy driver. He was used to drive the oldest spec of cars, if you can say so, of Porsche Cup Brazil, that were the cars that were used until the end of the penultimate season, if I'm not wrong, 991-1 cars, those lower cars, and now he's racing in the 991-2 cars and competing against
Tô aqui.
theoretically more skilled
Eles correm de
drivers,
Porsche, eu corro de
so
pernas,
it's
eu sempre
natural
falo
for
isso.
him to be out of this final
Precisaria, ia
qualifying
ser, não, é melhor não, Thiago, melhor não. Porque daí eu faço como com o meu câmera, entendeu? Coitado, meus 2 de patins não ia dar certo.
Yeah, just Renato Diniz joking about
Mas
trying
olha,
to get the
deixa eu aproveitar
interviews as
então que
fast as
o
she
Luke tá
can,
sempre
and
elogiando
now we
o
will
time da
hear
Master, e
from
é
one of
verdade,
the
os meninos
drivers.
correm muito atrás de mim, sem nem pensar. Eu falo, vamos, corre, vem para um lado, vai para o outro. Por isso que a gente consegue fazer a transmissão e levar todas as imagens.
Yeah, she's still
Murcica.
getting there. But anyway, let's just see if Salman will be able to get this pole position, Sergio, because it would be very nice to see one of the guys from the intermediate classes ahead of the pack overall. So that's the challenge for Israel, and so far, so good for him. He was celebrating the fact that he was able to get a good lap time in his quali session, and now he will be fighting against the main Sprint Challenge drivers for pole position, as we see a highlight there from Marcelo Tomazzoni and now Eduardo Taurizano, which was the driver that we were talking about, this black livery for Taurizano. And that's it, a weekend of adaptation for him, as I was talking about, faster car for him. And once more, the replay of Antonella Bassani and Josimar Jr., this number 77 car.
Yes, Antonella Bassani was very, very fast. I'd like also to highlight, Carlos, that Israel Salman was over 2/10 of a second faster than Josimar Jr. So it was really impressive, his time. He ran at 1:25.497 against 1:25.760 from Josimar Jr. With Antonella Bassani in third, good position for her, Gustavo Zanon and Christian Moore rounding the top 5. Of course, right now it's a whole different game. We've seen that in the Carrera Cup qualifying, right, where Nicolas Costa,
Luke.
after not being the fastest.
Bom, o Eduardo Taurizano, acho que vale a pena a gente destacar, chegou da Trophy direto pra cá, da Sprint Trophy, entrou na metade do campeonato, ó, BOP dele, 50 quilos, chegou e veio para brigar, porque entrou muito bem. E aí eu queria saber como é que está sendo para você essa experiência que acabou de chegar aqui.
Uma experiência única, carro mais potente e o fato de ter ABS já muda bastante. O regulamento também, quando você entra na categoria, você já leva essa surpresinha de 50 quilos a mais. Já não estou muito leve, mas viemos para brigar, viemos para ser competitivo e estamos aqui para crescer.
Você tentou de tudo nesse quali, né? Você tentou de todo jeito tentar entrar no top 10.
Eu já estou com pneu, não entrei com pneu zero, como alguns pilotos já e mais experientes estão aí, mas isso aí não vai mudar nada. Na corrida a gente resolve isso.
O que te fez migrar, sair da Trophy e vir para cá, para Challenge?
Na verdade, na Trophy, como eu ganhei as últimas 2 etapas e pelo tempo em relação aos outros pilotos estava um pouco desigual. Em questão de experiência, tudo, sem dúvidas, estar aqui vai ser muito melhor, tanto para a Porsche, quanto para mim, quanto para todo mundo.
É isso que vocês estavam comentando um pouco antes, né, Luke e Thiago, sobre essa decisão da categoria junto com os pilotos de fazerem essa evolução deles aqui dentro nas nossas categorias. Obrigada, parabéns.
Natinha, obrigado. Um abraço.
Luke?
Yeah, we heard there from Eduardo Taurizano himself. He explained that he was actually in a league of his own in the Sprint Trophy Championship, so this promotion is better for him, for the category, for the other competitors as well. He was talking about the extra weight that he has in his car due to the balance of performance regulation, so the Sprint Challenge drivers, due to the fact that they theoretically are a little bit more skilled compared to the other drivers of the sport class and the rookie class, they carry extra weight to their cars. And of course, a challenge for him, making his debut in the Sprint Challenge Championship. He was also talking about the fact that the car is a little bit more powerful, as I have explained already. And even though he wasn't able to advance to the final quali session, he said that there's no problem. He is focusing
Júnior, costuma se
on
dar
the
muito bem
race,
aqui em Goiânia.
he said that he
Treinou na
didn't have
quinta, não treinou ontem,
fresh
teve um
set of tires,
compromisso
so that
e chegou agora
had
com um
an
resultado
impact
muito
as
bom,
well.
Josimar.
Ontem
Não,
eu tive que
Josimar
viajar,
Júnior.
né? Foi a formatura da minha filha e vim correndo aqui para cá logo cedo para poder classificar e tentar agora fazer o melhor possível.
E o que você acha da pista aqui de Goiânia?
Uma das minhas pistas favoritas, né? Eu gosto muito dessa pista e me adapto muito bem a ela, sentido horário, eu gosto de correr sentido horário, então é uma maravilha.
Já fez pole aqui, hein?
Já fiz.
Já ganhou, exatamente, já ganhou corrida também.
Também ganhei a corrida, foi. Vamos ver se a gente consegue repetir agora.
É isso. Obrigada, Josimar. Bom treino. Luke?
Yeah, we heard there from Josimar Jr., faster of the main Sprint Challenge class drivers so far, of course, out-qualified in this moment by Israel Salman, but anyway, Josimar already has a pole position in the circuit, also a race win. He likes to race in clockwise circuits, and actually he was celebrating his daughter's graduation prior to arriving to this weekend of Porsche Cup Brasil in Goiânia, so an eventful weekend in a good way for Josimar Jr.
Yes, congratulations to him for the graduation of his daughter. We are about to start the last and final session this Saturday morning. We're waiting to find out who is going to be the pole position for the Sprint Challenge race this afternoon. As I mentioned, it starts at 1 p.m. Brazilian time. First race will be the Carrera Cup race, and then we have the Sprint Challenge race. That's how it works every Sprint Championship weekend with Porsche Cup Brazil. And we already have there number 33. Looking forward to go to the track. Gustavo Zanon is there, anxious to hit the track. Behind him, we have Israel Salman, and then Urubatan Jr. He will be the third to hit the track. So these are decisive moments, because of course all the drivers are there concentrating, trying to get their best, and we'll find out. I haven't seen it yet, Antonella Bassani, but for sure she'll join the field there. And we see beautiful weather, Carlos. It's always nice to see a race in such a beautiful weather. We don't see one cloud around in Goiânia, which is the capital of state of Goiás. It's in the central part of Brazil. It's very close to Brasília. Actually, Brasília, the federal district, is inside the state of Goiás. It was done there. Brasília, for those who know, it was is the capital city that was constructed in the late 50s, 1950s. And it was inaugurated to be the capital of Brazil, to move the capital from Rio de Janeiro to the central part of Brazil to help develop this part, which is a very developed area in this area, in there, because you mentioned during the Carrera Cup the brand that works with agriculture, and that's it's very developed, the central part of Brazil in the agriculture field. Of course, there are other things, other industries there too, but agriculture is the strongest in this area of Brazil.
Yeah, definitely. If I'm not wrong, the distance between Brasilia, our country's capital, and Goiânia is around 200 kilometers. So, as you said, quite close for Brazilian standards to the country's capital. As you said, agriculture is a very strong economic sector in this region of our country. Of course, we have other industries as well, but Goiânia is a very interesting city, especially always very sunny, very hot as well, even though this weekend is not that hot compared to the city's standards. In this moment, we have 26 degrees Celsius at Goiânia, so it's not that hot, and actually that's something that the drivers highlighted in the beginning of these qualifying sessions that we see this Saturday's morning in Brazil. Actually a colder track temperature compared to yesterday's free practice. So let's see how the temperature will be also for this afternoon's races.
A little bit over 8 minutes to go. This is the final session for the Sprint Challenge category of Porsche Cup Brazil. The Porsche Cup C6 Bank Mastercard 2023 Championship. There we see Ricardinho Maurício watching the drivers. Most of those drivers, because as we see Ricardo Maurício on the left, they have coached, which is very, very interesting. It's part of the category. Of course, we have some professional drivers there, but most of the drivers are, I would say, gentleman drivers, very, very, very good gentleman drivers, but they are not overall professional drivers. Let's put it this way. They don't live out of their driving skills, right? That a professional driver, at least in general. So it's very nice that we have this environment where we have very accomplished drivers from other categories that are teaching these drivers and working for them to improve each round of the championship.
Yeah, as you said, the environment of Porsche Cup Brazil is definitely a highlight of the series. It's a good mix of competitiveness and a friendly feeling overall, because a lot of these drivers, they are friends in their private life, if you can say so, and we still have a lot of competitive drivers. You talked about the gentleman drivers, but we have some exceptions. For example, last year's champion Enzo Elias is currently driving in the Stock Car Pro Series, in which, for example, Rubens Barrichello, the former Ferrari F1 driver, is the reigning champion. So a very good level of competitiveness, and Enzo Elias actually was driving in the Porsche Endurance Challenge Series race in Interlagos, the 300 kilometers of Interlagos. So we have a friendly environment, but also a competitive one. And the most important thing is that the drivers that are arriving in the series, such as Eduardo Taurissano, for example, they are always improving. So it's a good mix of sensations there, and it always rewards the drivers that are studying, that are practicing, that are racing in the simulators, for example. So it's a very nice and a well-organized series, and once more, I think that we have to praise the CEO of Porsche Cup Brazil, Daniel Pires, because the job is very well done indeed, Sergio.
Marcelo Tomassoni is the fastest so far. All the drivers can improve their times. In second, we have Carlos Campos, who is from the sport class. Then we have in third, we have number 21 of Miguel Mariotti. Israel Salman so far is the fourth. He was the fastest after the first sessions. He's early this morning in Goiânia, and now we have Gustavo Zanon ahead of everybody with 1:26.53.7, and then Marcelo Tomassoni falls to second with Israel Salman in third. Oh, Antonella Bassani, Carlos, gets the best time so far, and she's surpassed by Christian Moore. So Christian Moore is the fastest. He's already in the 21:25 there, 1:25 middles, with Tomassoni second, Antonella Bassani third, and then in fourth place we have Carlos Campos and Gustavo Zanon in fifth. Carlos, so far with less than 5 minutes to go for us to find out who is going to be the pole position for the race this afternoon.
Yeah, and based on the championship standings, we can expect a good fight between these guys ahead, Christian Moore and Marcelo Tomazoni. Tomazoni, as I said, leads the championship so far, 92 points to his name, 11 ahead of Christian Moore. So theoretically, they are the most competitive drivers this season at least, but Antonella Bassani, as we have been talking about, has been very good, in a very good performance overall as well, and of course always improving, getting a little bit more calm throughout the quali and the race sessions. So she gets a good lap time as well, even though she's half a second behind Christian Mora. Now we see that Gustavo Zanon gets into the top three. Apart from that, Urubatan Jr. is always an interesting competitor, and Josimar Jr. that has been the fastest in the of the main sprint challenge class drivers in the previous qualifying session, but so far not that good for Josimar as we see in this moment. Antonio Junqueira's car, definitely one guy to watch as well.
Yeah, there is Antonio Junqueira. So far, he has the 7th best time. Of course, he's still looking forward to improve. Best time, Christian Moore, 125.366. And Tomassoni, Zanon, Bassani, and Miguel Mariotti. These are the top 5. All this can change. Josimar Jr. is the last up to this point. So let's see what Josimar Jr. can do to improve his time. Was the fastest before. Now he improves to 8th. Miguel Mariotti goes to 3rd position. Good for Miguel Mariotti. Gustavo Zanon is the best car for the sport class so far in 4th. There he is, Gustavo Zanon. Always highlighting number 33. 2 minutes and a half to go, Carlos. And so far, it looks good for Christian Moore.
Yeah, especially considering how big his gap is to his competitors. And Marcelo Tomazoni is a very good one, a very fast driver, an experienced one that usually delivers good results in qualifying sessions. So almost half of a second is a quite good advantage for Christian Moore. So the situation looks comfortable for him, because even if the rest of the pack may be able to have good lap times there, to catch up with Christian will be very difficult, as you see now once more Carlos Campos with a very good lap time there, out qualifying so far Miguel Mariotti. It will be interesting to see the fight for the top 5 positions, I would say, but Christian Moore looks comfortable in this moment, but there's still 1.5 minutes to go, and even more time, because after the clock ticks, we have a little bit more time, because then we have the checkered flag being waved and the rest of the cars getting their final attempts.
Josimar Jr., number 77, advances to 2nd place. So there he is. I would say where he belongs. He was the fastest after the first 3 sessions, so he's right there where he wants to be. Of course, he wants the pole position. Tomassoni is 3rd. He still highlights Carlos Campos, was 9th overall. He was 4th among the sport class, and 9th overall after the 3 first sessions. So far, he's the fastest in the sport class. He's still in 4th overall. Israel Salman is 6th. So 6th position for Israel Salman. Good effort by him. And we have Gustavo Zanon in 7th. And that's almost about it, Carlos. Let's see what happens. This is Israel Salman with 123. Let's see if he's able to improve his time. Oh, that's it for him. That's best he'll be able to get to 6th place overall. He's not going to improve that for sure. A little bit of a problem there. Oh, now we have Marcelo Tomassoni. Marcelo Tomassoni, his last effort, Carlos, he was not able to get it. Number 77. Let's see if Josimar Jr. is able to improve over Christian Moore. No, he's not. So Christian Moore will get the pole position. Unless we have a big surprise there. No, we have Christian Moore. That's Antonio Junqueira. Right now he's 8th overall. He might improve. Let's wait for him to cross the line. And, Antonio Junqueira, no, he stays in 8th place. He didn't improve. So he will start last among the sports class guys that are there in the field, and not a good time there for Antonella Bassani, because I would expect more from her. She got 9th overall with Urubatan Jr. in 10th, also a driver who I would expect at least to be ahead of some, for both Antonella and Urubatan Jr., at least to be ahead of 1 or 2 of the sport class drivers.
Yeah, difficult quali for her, as you see Christian Moore celebrating a lot, a very important qualifying session for him, ahead of his main title rival, that is Marcelo Tomazoni. Tomazoni starts third, actually. A dramatic end of this qualifying session. Tomazoni spinning, Israel Salman going a bit wide, so not a perfect situation for both of these drivers. Actually, for Israel, especially a bittersweet sensation, because he was the pace setter in the previous qualifying sessions, and now he loses the pole position of the sport class division to Carlos Campos. But anyway, a good performance from Israel, from Carlos especially, of course, and Christian Moore with a good gap there to the rest of the pack, almost 3/10 between Moore and Josimar Jr. that starts second. So we have to praise Christian Moore's performance, definitely, and let's see if he will be able to capitalize on this pole position in order to win. And that will be very important for him in terms of the championship standings. As I talked about, 11 points is the gap between season leader so far, Marcelo Tomazoni, and Christian Moore. So good expectation for today's races.
Yes, this is Christian Moore again highlighting his Porsche pole position for the Sprint Challenge race. Carlos Campos, very nice effort. I was impressed by Carlos Campos. He really surprised there, and it's very good for this. And he's, of course, commemorating. He's going to start in the second row, outside of the second row. So that's always a very good position. We know how important it is to start ahead of the other driver.
Bora falar com o Christian Moore, então? Felizão, né?
Ah, muito feliz. Para mim é até dar uma lavada na alma aí da última etapa, que deu aquele problema todo, sair com a pole, dar um puta ânimo pra gente vir pra prova amanhã. Amanhã não, hoje, na verdade.
Hoje, pelo amor, ainda tem corrida hoje, Christian.
De gás.
É isso. Tá feliz? O que você acha que foi o conjunto pra chegar nesse resultado?
Ah, tudo junto, né? É o detalhe, ninguém faz nada sozinho, né? Foi o acerto, o ajuste na última hora, a dica final que faltava, porque onde é que eu tava perdendo, subiu a temperatura, daí já mudou um pouco o carro e a gente conseguiu ajustar tudo aí nos últimos detalhes e deu tudo certo. Bem feliz.
Parabéns.
Obrigado.
E ó, não vai embora não, tem corrida hoje, tá bom? Por favor, hein? Que susto, Luke.
Yeah, very nice celebration there from Christian Moore. Very happy actually with his pole position, especially because last time out at Velocitar he had a difficult weekend, so an important qualifying session for Christian, and now very anxious for today's race. He actually thought that it would be tomorrow, but first race is today, this Saturday's afternoon, so he will be ahead of the pack, chased by important title rivals there, Josimar Jr. second on the grid, and Marcelo Tomazoni, season leader so far, third. So let's wait and see what Christian will be able to do in race 1, and he was, of course,
Tava comentando com o Carlos Campos, a segunda vez dele aqui, segunda corrida, e com um resultado muito legal.
Muito legal. A primeira corrida foi lá em Mogi, depois de muitos anos sem andar. Consegui ter um bom resultado lá, um terceiro e quarto na categoria. O carro é muito bom de guiar, muito bacana. E para essa aqui, estamos melhorando.
Como é que foram os treinos para você, essa adaptação aqui, principalmente nessa pista?
Foi bem legal, porque na verdade a última vez que eu andei aqui foi em 1992, de Fórmula. Então, de novo, fazia muitos anos que eu adoro a pista. E aí a gente usou os primeiros treinos com um pneu mais velho para ir retomando, vamos dizer, a pista, a reação desse carro na pista. E ontem a gente já passou um pneu melhor. Fui bem no treino livre, na verdade, ontem. E hoje acho que peguei mais o jeito da pista. Tá vindo, devagarzinho a gente vai melhorando.
É isso. Parabéns.
Entendendo a geração antiga aqui.
Muito bom ter você de volta. Legal. Luke.
Yeah, nice chat there with Carlos Campos, pole position of the Sport Class Division of the Porsche Sprint Challenge Championship. And actually, the last time he raced in the circuit, Sergio, was in 1992. So a long time ago, he was still racing in single seaters back then. And actually, that's a very nice return to the series to Porsche Cup Brazil for Carlos Campos. He missed the season opener round at Interlagos, raced at Velocita, adapting back to the racing standards of Porsche Cup Brazil, and now a good result already in this qualifying session.
Ela que tá sempre sorridente.
Goiânia. So
Não,
let's
Edu,
see
fica
how he
aqui.
fares in the
Edu,
race.
pode ficar aqui. Ela que tá sempre sorridente, eu cheguei aqui, ela tava com uma cara, tipo, emburrada.
Antonella Bassani.
Antonella, o que aconteceu?
Bom, a gente estava muito competitivo no Q1, só que no Q2 ainda eu estou tentando processar o que aconteceu, mas o carro deu uma piorada, talvez pode ter sido alguma coisa aí que envolveu eu, posso ter piorado, como pode ter sido o carro, então são muitas coisas que pode ter envolvido aí, mas no Q1 tinha sido muito bom, tinha sido muito competitivo, a gente estava aqui no Q2 com a cabeça, tipo, em questão de pensar na pole, só que infelizmente não deu, então a gente vai largar de... Nem sei que lugar a gente vai largar.
Não vai falar o que a gente vai largar, não. Não estratégia, não.
Aí, mas a gente vai tentar largar para fazer uma corrida de recuperação também. Talvez a gente pode arriscar que bem provável que também a gente consiga um pódio e amanhã com uma inversão de grid largar bem e talvez ganhar.
Muito fofa, Antonella, muito fofa. Edu, ele só me falou uma coisa na hora que eu cheguei aqui. Ela tá meio emburrada, mas vai ter alegria esse final de semana.
Não, ela vai ter alegria. Ela foi muito bem no Q1. A gente viu ela tentar umas coisas assim que, se ela conseguisse, ela realmente teria um diferencial muito grande para os outros. No Q2 a gente foi com o mesmo acerto, alguma coisa não encaixou de temperatura, não sei, isso aí ela vai analisar com calma com a engenheira dela, com a Jana. Mas a gente conseguiu, a gente tem um pneu com menos volta que os nossos adversários para uma das duas corridas, né? Porque a gente pegou e encurtou o Q1, né? Para guardar pneus com um jogo de pneu com menos voltas, né? Então vamos ver, mas eu acho que ela está super competitiva, tem estratégia agora e tem 2 corridas pela frente para pegar 2 pódios, quem sabe aí sonhar com a primeira vitória feminina aqui na Porsche Cup.
Yes, a gente já tá vibrando muito aqui, Edu, muito. E o Edu falando nesse tom, né, tipo, a gente tem um ouro guardado, a gente tem uma coisa aqui e tal. A gente vai aguardar as cenas dos próximos capítulos. Obrigada. E ó, é isso, ele já falou, agora é confiança. Luke.
Yeah, we heard there from Antonella Bassani and the chief of her pit crew, Eduardo Bassani. Eduardo said that she was focusing on pole position, and had she got the lap time attempt right in the final qualifying session, she would be close to the first position of the grid, but something went wrong. He said that they both will check what happened, and Antonella Bassani actually said that it was indeed this very situation. She was focusing on pole position after a good qualifying session in the previous attempt, but anyway, she wasn't able to get the lap time right there. But she's focusing on getting a good race recovery this afternoon. So it's nice to see how mature she is already after being very nervous in her very first qualifying session in the series back at Interlagos. Now one more interview with
Ainda não foi
Renato
exatamente
Diniz.
a pole, mas ficou em segundo.
Consegui, né? Depois de uma aventura aí ontem e hoje, né? Para poder classificar. Mas eu acho que a gente conseguiu fazer um bom resultado, né? Ainda fiquei com um desejozinho da pole, né? Mas eu acho que tá bom. Para as 2 primeiras etapas eu não classifiquei muito bem, né? E eu acho que o P2 aqui volta a trazer uma confiança grande.
Boa, verdade. Tá falando principalmente da próxima corrida que já é já, né? Não é isso, Luque? Obrigado, Josimar.
Yeah, now Josimar Jr. celebrating in a way the result. It was a good grid position for him, P2, right beside Christian Moore in the front row there, but a bittersweet sensation for him because he was the pace setter among the main sprint challenge class drivers in the previous qualifying session, and now out qualified by Christian Moore. But anyway, a good expectation for him as we see the final moments of this broadcast.
That's it. Thank you all for watching this with us. Saturday we'll have later today we'll have the race. Thank you very much and bye.
Bye bye.